Hey guys, Tbull here. Today we're be crowning a new king of the Tier 7 secondary builds here. This is what a ship would normally have. We got slot 1 and slot 4 secondary mods. Inspirations, I go with Von Hipper, free to play, and Haruna, pay to win. Both very good. In terms of perks, we're going to want Porcupine as the strongest one generally, and the slot 4 properly meticulous boost the module. So those are my secondary builds. They'll be the same for each of these ships when I'm comparing the stats and whatever. You guys let me know if you're a free-to-play player and you're trying to make a secondary build. What do you go with besides Von Hipper? Or maybe potentially even both inspirations if you don't use either of them. Interested to get some feedback there, but I think that's currently the strongest build in the game. So we'll be comparing the top 5 secondary ships in terms of overall attack at Tier 7. And I'm going to start off with Massachusetts. American battleship. I think you might be able to get this in the Green XP store at the moment, but it was a campaign reward ship at one point in time. Coming in at number 5, effective secondary attack. Now, the secondaries on this are much more accurate than a lot of these, so you do want to keep that in mind. But we only have 10 guns per side, which is the smallest amount on all of these ships, and the reload actually quite long at 5.5. So you got 5.8, I think, on the Zieten of the 150s, but other than that, that's the longest reload for any of these. So lower damage per minute. Now the HE damage is pretty good, 1800. Fire starting chance, not bad, 5%. So you're still going to have a nice effective secondary attack. And in fact, all 5 of these ships are really good if you spec them for secondaries and can get them successfully in the positions to use those attacks. But for me, Massachusetts coming in at number 5. Number 4, interesting pick here, Veneto. Now this one, most of the other ships, like the Massachusetts, the range, 10.8%. I think I forgot to mention that. And that's actually the second shortest. But here we only have 7.9. And again, that's with a really strong focus on those secondaries. But why it is important, or why it's actually coming in at number 4 and not number 5, or even not even part of the list, potentially, the SAP damage and the SAP semi-auto or semi-armor piercing shells, 3,800. All right, so this thing, withering attack, yes, shorter range, but we do have the smoke that we can use to get in close potentially if we're keeping the main guns cool, so I'm not alerting the enemies to our position. We can use that smoke, get in close, and if someone on our team's spotting, we can actually have those secondaries tear up the opponents without ever really getting spotted, because the secondaries going off don't negate your concealment inside the smoke. So interesting ship there. We do have 12 guns per side here. About half of them are 90 mils and about half are the 152s. Of course, you're going to get better pen off of those guys. Same damage value, it looks like, off of both of them. Very quick reload on both sets of guns. 2.2 on the smaller cal, 2.9 on the bigger cal. So disadvantage, clearly. Tougher to get into active secondary range. But if you can get there, look out if you're on the red team. Especially, heaven forbid, if you're a destroyer and you get caught in a Veneto's secondary attack, you're done. Those secondary shells will shred you. Cruisers, you're in serious trouble, and even battleships need to be wary and see how you can eliminate the threat as quickly as possible, either by getting behind cover or hopefully sinking the Veneto itself. Because if you allow this ship, or basically any of these, to deal the damage over a large swatch of time, that's when you're in serious trouble. And that's kind of the theory behind the secondary builds in general. We want to get into a position where as many of those secondary guns are going off. Now we're getting passive income on our overall damage output, and we're adding in the main gun attack as well. So, that's kind of the overall arching philosophy of these. Of course, you got to do that safely. You don't want to die just to get in position to get the guns going off. Number 3, well, at one point in time, he was the king. Now, granted, at one point in time, he was the only secondary ship at Tier 7 that was really viable. Bismarck, come on, what happened to the Bismarck? Well, Bismarck started off in a kind of a bad spot. The secondary attacks were really poor when it came out, and the Bismarck was clearly the worst Tier 7 battleship for a long time. They keep boosting the secondaries every few updates, and it's gotten into a good spot. The Bismarck is very dangerous. You got 14 secondary guns per side, tied for second most with the Zieten, and pretty dang good range. We got 11.8 kilometers on my build, which is a long reach. Okay, so we can get a lot of ships going here. We got 105s, 8 of those per side. Reload 2.3 on that, pretty good reload. And a little bit longer, 5.1 on the 150s. And there we got 6 per side, same range. Damage, not quite as strong in terms of overall raw damage as the Massachusetts. We got 1,200 on the smaller and 1,700 on the bigger cals. 5% chance, fire chance for the small cals, 8% chance for the bigger ones. So kind of middle of the pack if you run the math on the numbers. Good grasp, again, good range of these guns, so you can get plenty of ships within the range safely. And the accuracy is kind of, if I had to guess, I would say the accuracy is the worst on the Bismarck out of all these. But it could be tied with some of the Germans. You know, we don't have the numbers in the game, so it's all based on experience. And of course, I've played the Bismarck more than all these ships, potentially even combined. But the secondaries, even though it's got a good long range attack and pretty high velocity in terms of the damage output, they can get a little wonky with the accuracy. That's why that secondary module, whatever it's called, enhancing that is even more important, because that mod really tightens up the accuracy during the duration. So you can really increase your damage attacks by using that and enhancing that module with your slot 4 commander perk. So Bismarck coming in at number 3, not bad. Certainly dangerous out there if you get it in range. Of course, a lot of times the battleships on your team, the guys playing Bismarck, they'll have them parked as far back as possible. They won't get a single secondary hit per game. But that's a whole nother story. Zieten, number 2 here, the new battle cruiser. Just came in a couple weeks ago, actually. We're working on fully upgrading this thing. I got it all upgraded, but got to get out the XP ground out so we can get the tier 8 when that launches. 14 secondary guns per side, tied with the Bismarck, sure. But we actually have more 150s. Now, longer reload on the 150s, 5.8 compared to 5.1 on the Bismarck. Same reload time on the smaller 105s, which is the same number as Zieten and Bismarck, 8 per side there. But overall, you just have more guns and that same range. So, I mean, you can really kind of go back and forth. Do you like the Bismarck or the Zieten's presentation a little bit more? I feel like the Zieten's a lot more accurate, though, in terms of the secondary damage. In fact, I've been pretty aggressive with the positioning on this, just to push it as hard as I can to see what kind of damage you can get. And very often, the Zieten's not as durable as the Bismarck, so it might not be there for as long of a time, but you can get maybe more raw damage than the Bismarck, it seems. So in terms of really just focusing on the secondary attack, I feel like the Zieten's coming in at number 2. You guys always let me know if you disagree with any of these or what you think too, because when I make these kind of ranking videos, usually I like to get a lot of feedback from you guys, and sometimes it even changes my approach to how I think about these things when I'm reading some of your guys' ideas. But my top dog, Brandenburg, come on now. 16 secondary guns per side. Good reload, 5.1 on the big ones, 2.3 on the small cals. We got 10 of the small 105s per side and 6 of the 150s per side. So 12-kilometer range, by the way. We got the longest range reach of any of these tier 7s. And the damage the same as the damage and the fire chance the same as the other Germans, the Bismarck and the Zieten. So I think just due to the fact that the number of guns is the more plentiful on this one, and I feel like it's a little bit more accurate than Bismarck. Again, that's a subjective take. If anyone's compared the raw numbers, somehow you got the raw number data, and you've compared it, let us know in the comments too, because I'd be interested to hear what the game suggests, even if it's from the PC version. But overall, I feel like Brandenburg's secondary is a little bit more accurate than Bismarck, at least in my opinion, but just a little bit higher output. And overall, the Brandenburg can be very destructive to be playing near on the opposing team. So that's really going to be my breakdown. You can make an argument for the other ones, like the Massachusetts. Seems like really high accuracy on those. The Veneto, again, more of a specialized close range guy, but that's where you want that ship to be anyways. And when you get it into the proper position, the attack itself can be devastating. Of course, Bismarck, Zieten, Brandenburg, the German guys, the longest reach of all the ships and tend to be the most guns, secondary guns on each ship. So that's my breakdown. I got Massachusetts, Zieten, or no, Veneto, Bismarck, Zieten, and then Brandenburg. You guys let me know what you're thinking, though, in the comments. Do you agree, disagree? Am I missing something? Maybe I forgot a ship that I don't normally spec out as secondaries. We could have compared. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and that'll do it. So if you enjoyed this video, please hit the thumbs up. If you would consider subscribing, we are searching for the 25,000 subscriber mark. Of course, we're going to trigger some giveaways when that happens. Do have a new channel, Bull Bites, if you want to check that out. It's still kind of at the conceptual phase, but we'll do more with that as time goes on. The link to that channel is in the description. You can go ahead and follow me there too if you'd like. But other than that, just let us know what you're thinking in the comments, and we'll see y'all later. All right, peace.